Thanks for joining us tonight. ABC 10 has been reporting on California's broken conservatorship system for more than 3 years. And tonight, investigative reporter Andy Judson is back with her Price of Care series, except for this time with a news story about a developmentally disabled woman. See, she was conserved by the state after receiving a settlement stemming from the baby formula that caused her disabilities. And then she wasn't getting the care that she needs. So that's coming up a little bit later in the show. But first, let's get you caught up on the news of the day and start with our main point, the presidential race. We are now 505 days away from election. I don't know about you, but I am not mentally prepared for another election. But Ron DeSantis was at a private breakfast at the Del Paso Country Club today. Typically, we would show you video of this event, but we were not allowed inside. And then hours later, the president decided to come to town. He was greeted by Governor Gavin Newsom when he got off Air Force One. In a speech in Palo Alto, he promised more money in the fight against climate change. Jeannie Nguyen explains what that really means, because it's kind of broad, right, Jeannie?
Alex, both the president's visit and Florida governor's visit today was all part of their bid for president as they continue their respective campaign trails. In Biden's speech today, he pledged hundreds of millions of dollars to help face the impact of our warming climate.
Climate change is a genuine, is the existential threat to humanity. The existential threat to humanity.
President Joe Biden stopped by the Lucy Evans Baylands Nature Center in Palo Alto today and touched on environmental issues that Californians have been facing.
Devastating storms caused historic flooding that killed 21 people. That comes on the heels of the worst droughts in California in more than a millennia and the highest sea level rise in more than a century.
All of this to announce the Department of Commerce will provide $600 million to coastal and Great Lake communities to protect against climate change.
More than $2 billion to modernize our electric grid to be more climate resilient, including more than $67 million starting off in California.
Biden also says there will be the first ever White House summit later on this year that will be focused on climate resilience.
It's going to include a roadmap for how these historic climate actions are going to build more climate resilient communities all across America.
Biden is seeking re-election and made it a point to call out his opponents today.
Some of our MAGA Republican friends in Congress are continuing to try to undo all the progress we've already made in the first 2.5 years.
Earlier this morning, Florida Governor and presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis held a private campaign event at the Del Paso Country Club. This is his first visit to California after he admitted to sending dozens of migrants to Sacramento. When asked about DeSantis being in Sacramento today, Biden only had to say that it's hard to comment on things like that.
Now, the president's Bay Area stops today included Los Gatos and Atherton. The next 2 days, Biden will be campaigning in San Francisco. Alex.
Thank you, Jeannie. Now, we reached out to SMUD and PG&E today about President Biden's climate announcement. There are still a lot of details to be hammered out, but SMUD sent us this statement saying, quote, "We will continue to pursue all funding opportunities for projects that can help us reach zero carbon by 2030 and look forward to learning about the details of this announcement." And other headlines people are talking about today, it's Juneteenth. President Biden made this a federal holiday 2 years ago. Celebrations to commemorate the end of slavery were held across the country, and today one group held an event outside the state capitol to make sure lessons learned in the past can be applied to the future.
It's something that we must do to form a more perfect union, because the blood of people fighting for freedom is in my veins.
And in Washington, D.C., the Emancipation Proclamation, the historic executive order that paved the way for the end of slavery, was on display at the National Archives today. The CHP task force trying to crack down on retail thefts and smash and grabs like these right here. They're out with some new numbers today. They say since 2019, they've recovered more than $30 million in stolen merchandise. Meanwhile, there is a bill at the state capitol that, if passed, would stop retailers from requiring staff to confront shoplifters. And Sacramento police and the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office are investigating anti-Semitic flyers like this one right here, found in an East Sacramento neighborhood. They are very hateful, which is why we are not showing the full picture of what they look like. And we're hearing from investigators and the local Jewish community about what these flyers say. Luke Cleary is live at the River Park neighborhood with new information.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, these flyers, these hateful flyers started popping up late last night into this morning in places like Arden Arcade and also right here in River Park where I'm standing in East Sacramento. I'm going to bring up an image of one of them so you can see what we're talking about here. This particular image depicts a white supremacist take on the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion, using common language of phrases that we have seen popping up, passed around on hate group chat forums online. There are others that are even more offensive, as you mentioned, that we've just chosen to obscure. And what they do is kind of connect the LGBTQ plus community to the Jewish community. We've seen Mayor Steinberg has been the target of some of these flyers as well. And as you come back out here to me live, it's worth pointing out that the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office has said that these flyers in and of themselves, as despicable as the hate speech may be, it may not be actually constituting a crime. Hate speech is also protected speech under the U.S. Constitution, but the concern here is that this kind of speech can lead up to threats or even violence, and that is what has the law enforcement community and the Jewish community here so concerned. Alex?
All right, Luke, thank you. And I'll let you know when we have more reporting on this. It will be coming up tonight at Late News Tonight at 11. Thanks, Luke. All right, coming up next, Lake Oroville staying at full capacity, what this means for our summer.
And also, we only made it to 78 degrees yesterday, a very mild weather day. One of the perks of being in California, right? We got this low pressure right over the west coast, but high pressure to our east, bringing some sweltering temperatures to parts of the Lone Star State. We'll talk about all that coming up.
And our price of care investigation is coming up later in the show. What happens when people who are conserved are just not properly cared for? This is the new view of Lake Oroville. The reservoir is now at full capacity. A lot of boats and houseboats are back on the water for summer, and recreation on the lake is in full swing. And our lakes were very dry around this time last year, but boy, Brendan, what a difference a year makes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reservoirs all around the state are filling up. Take a look at this map behind me here, and you're going to notice that it's not just Oroville. It's 100% capacity. Shasta's at 96% capacity. Folsom at 94% capacity, all about 120% above average for this time of year. Temperature-wise, it's been a very mild month of June, 14 days with below average temperatures. Today, we only made it to 78 degrees in downtown Sacramento. So a cool evening and a cold really start to the morning tomorrow as well. Parts of the valley in the 40s, about 46 in Elk Grove, 52 in Sacramento. So close to 50 in and around Sacramento. But again, those rural parts of the valley are going to be dropping down into the 40s tomorrow. And if you notice that blue coloring up there for parts of the coastal range, that's a frost advisory. 80 for a high temperature tomorrow in Sacramento, 80 in Elk Grove, 81 Stockton, 80 in Modesto. The average high for this time of year, 90 degrees. There's a lot of perks to these temperatures, a lot of perks to living in California, and one of those is we don't have to deal with the humidity, which is making parts of Texas feel like it's 115 to 120 degrees. This is not the first day of this, but that continues tomorrow. The other good news is we don't have to worry about tropical storms, which there is now officially one out in the Atlantic. Tropical Storm Bert making its way into the Caribbean as a high-end tropical storm, low-end Category 1 hurricane. But again, we don't have to worry about that here in California. Tomorrow, we're going to be in those 80s around the metro. And as we look at the next 10 days, Alex, first day of summer is Wednesday. We're going to be in those middle 80s.
Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, thanks, Brendan. Coming up after the break, our price of care investigation, a family fighting for proper care for Ranny after she was conserved by the state. Now to an ABC 10 investigation. For more than 3 years, investigative reporter Anti Judson has been looking at conservatorships. In her series, The Price of Care, she has uncovered that people with disabilities are being abused and has also helped pass state laws to reform a deeply broken system. Now tonight, Andy is back with another investigation. What happens when people that are conserved are not properly cared for? And we do want to warn you that some of the images in this story may be very difficult to watch.
Yeah, in previous stories, I've introduced you to dozens of people that have been conserved by the Department of Developmental Services. And tonight you'll meet Ranny and see how the lack of a timely response from her conservator is putting her health and well-being at risk.
That's my 49ers necklace that I wear.
To say Ranny Slater is a 49ers fan
Get out of my box. Hold on.
is an understatement.
It's got my name on the other side.
Just take a look at her room,
I bought some new hats.
her clothes,
Trey made me this one.
and her business cards that she hands out to every person she meets. She is the San Francisco 49ers #1 fan. Why do you like them?
Because They like winning games.
But those in charge of Ranny's life have no idea about her biggest passion.
I'm so DDS.
In fact, they don't know a lot of things about Ranny.
And this one. Yeah.
Like the fact that her teeth are literally rotting.
I want to get it taken care of. I die to get another one pulled.
Is it hard to eat? Ranny is conserved. That means every aspect of her life, from what she eats, where she lives, and all decisions about her health, yes, including dental, are in the hands of someone else. And who that someone is the Department of Developmental Services, a huge state agency with a nearly $14 billion budget, all funded by taxpayers. Known as DDS, the Department of Developmental Services is required by law to make sure Californians with developmental disabilities have equal rights.
My daughters were on a defective baby formula when they were born.
Ranny and her twin sister Danielle were two of thousands of children that had developmental issues due to a formula they drank as infants.
They're not holding their heads up, they're not crawling. I told my mom, something's wrong. They didn't walk till they were 2 years and 2 months.
She learned DDS funds and oversees 21 regional centers across California. These centers fulfill DDS's responsibilities by providing services ranging from in-home caregiving to speech therapy and even transportation for those with developmental disabilities. The center here in Sacramento is called Alta.
That's how we got started Alta Regional.
Alta provided Robin with services to support her in raising her daughters.
She still got the mind of like a 15-year-old.
As they grew, Robin fought to get her girls justice from the baby formula company.
Well, it took 12 years, I think, to get a settlement. They had until their 19th birthday to settle.
By the time they settled, Ranny and her sister were 25 years old, and each received a little over $17,000. But Robin still cared for them, including financially.
Their lawyer says, well, we can't give you the money. It's going to be put in the bank for them. You're going to need to get conservatorship in order to get access to this money for them.
Parents are often told to get conservatorship as their child approaches age 18 because many with developmental disabilities are not able to handle aspects of adult life, like medical or financial decisions. But as Robin took the steps to get conservatorship, she was shocked to find she was not the only one trying to conserve her own daughters.
All of a sudden, I'm hearing from DDS. They started getting conservatorship. Once I filed my conservatorship, all of a sudden they're on board. And I'm like, you weren't interested in getting conservatorship when they were 18.
We've been investigating conservatorships in the Department of Developmental Services for over 3 years now. And DDS swooping in to compete against parents for conservatorship is something we've seen over and over again.
As of May 2023, DDS conserves 395 individuals. The state agency often seeks conservatorship when there's allegations of abuse. For Robin, court documents show DDS claimed she was using her daughter's funds inappropriately. Robin says this is false.
And they started bringing up a lot of things that were not true and no evidence.
Robin is not the only one to feel like she was deemed guilty before being proven so.
Court-appointed investigator never interviewed us, still hasn't in 3 years. We never got due process.
There is no evidence. They will not find evidence of abuse of guard.
In cases our investigation looked at, DDS was not able to prove allegations they brought up.
They accused me of spending their SSI money on vacations. At the time, it was only $6,000 a year. I was working, so I had money to pay for everything I wanted. And I'm like, what proof do you have?
Robin asks if she was truly financially abusive, wouldn't DDS have tried to conserve her kids when they turned 18 and not 7 years later?
All of a sudden, they have a settlement, and you want to jump on this?
As for how that settlement money was spent,
what happened is the probate lawyers kept nickel and diming the account until all the money was gone.
DDS got conservatorship, even after Ranny and her sister said they wanted their mother to be conservator, court documents show.
And the judge just said, give it to DDS. And I'm like, they're capable of telling me what they want.
Today, Ranny and her sister have been conserved by DDS for 20 years.
I don't know anybody at DDS.
DDS, I've never heard from them at all since she got conserved. No, they've never been over here, never.
Unlike other cases we've investigated where DDS moves the person once they obtain conservatorship and often cuts off contact from family members, Ranny still lives at home with her mom who handles her day-to-day care. However, her sister has been moved to a supported living home.
She's coming out tomorrow.
What do you guys do together?
We usually watch TV.
Even though DDS is legally their conservator, the agency hands the responsibilities of conservatorship down to their regional centers. That means that Alta is in charge of Ranny and her sister's care, including medical needs. But their mother says that Alta has not been involved or taken care of them in any way.
You're not here in this house. You don't know what's going on.
When Ranny has had medical needs like an eye surgery in 2017.
And it took 3 years to get them to approve the surgery.
In 2022, her bottom teeth began having issues. When Robin contacted Alta Regional Center for help,
nothing. I have to keep writing him about every other week what's going on with the dental.
These are the emails between Robin and Alta Regional. She asks over and over again about Ranny's teeth, and every time she's met with red tape and excuses. Alta has said multiple times they're waiting on a response from Medi-Cal and that they haven't been able to obtain approval, and even admitting they're not making much headway in getting funds for the treatment approved.
How long has that been going on now?
19 months. Yeah.
Robin continues to take Randy to the dentist, but work cannot be done without Alta's approval. And because Alta has done nothing, Randy's teeth have gotten much worse.
They had to pull 3 teeth on the bottom, and she's getting ready to probably lose another one if I don't get her in and get that one fixed. But she's got, if that tooth gets pulled, it'll be 4 on the bottom that she won't have. And how is she going to eat?
DDS conserved Randy, saying it was in her best interest. And under their mother's care, her and her sister were not reaching their potential. But if you ask them, they say otherwise.
Alvia's not doing her job. DS is not doing her job.
And unfortunately, Ranny is not alone. Our investigation found a number of cases where DDS has failed conservatees and their health has suffered under their care. Yet, year after year, DDS's budget grows, funded by your tax dollars.
Because it's neglect. I know you have funds for this.
But Robin did not know just how much DDS has.
So DDS's budget this year is $12 billion and it's
billion?
And their 2023-2024 budget increases to over $14 billion. A large portion of that money goes to each regional center. For the 2022-2023 fiscal year, Alta has a budget of over $800 million.
Now I'm mad. You have the money to get this done. Get it done.
We requested an interview with Alta Regional Center as well as DDS. Both declined, saying Randy's information is private.
She can't even eat. She has to eat through the side like a chipmunk.
That's why her message for Randy's conservator is simple.
Do your job.
After we got involved and began investigating, Randy finally got root canals at the end of May. But Robin says because it was so delayed in getting approval for the dental work, now she needs even more work done, including a bridge after several teeth were pulled.
And ABC 10 requested interviews with Alta Regional Centers multiple times. The Department of Developmental Services also declined our request, but they sent us a statement that says, in part, we cannot comment on individual cases due to privacy protections. We are deeply concerned by this situation involving an individual under a DDS limited conservatorship with Alta California Regional Center. The described delays in receiving dental care are not acceptable, and we are working with our partners to resolve any issues related to accessing care. We're back after this. Coming up tomorrow and To the Point, we're looking at artificial intelligence and hearing aids. A Stockton audiologist is making house calls and improving people's lives with all this technology, and we don't want you to miss it. So thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you had a great Monday. I'll see you later. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.